Yo, what is up guys? Staleboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video I guess is a quick preview slash prediction for Sebastian Fundora versus Tszyu 2. The WBC title will be on the line, I believe. Of course that is held by Sebastian Fundora. And yeah, I think this one's an interesting fight at 154. Of course, first time around, back in, last year, beginning of last year, Sebastian Fundora beat Tszyu by a split decision to become unified champion at 154. Of course, after that he got stripped of his WBO for not fighting a mandatory. But the first fight with Tszyu was a weird one because Tszyu started quite well, boxing well, was finding his range with his straight punches, despite Fundora being 6'5", and Tszyu being like 5'9" maybe. But Tszyu found his groove quite early on in that fight, was fighting in a good rhythm, was landing his shots, but shortly after that, Tszyu suffered a horror cut due to an elbow by Sebastian Fundora, and that basically turned the fight in Fundora's favour. Tszyu, his face was a bloody mask, and the cut, due to its severity, I think put Tszyu off his game. It was one of those cuts that is rare in boxing. It's like the Badu Jack type cut. It was horrible. It looked like an axe wound, quite frankly. And yeah, I feel the cut in that fight really kind of stifled Tszyu. And I think it played a massive factor in the result. And I remember in my post-fight video for that fight, you know, Tszyu lost the fight in my opinion, but there were circumstances around it. I wasn't really holding it against Tszyu, so to speak. To me, it was never really a massive blemish because the cut was so horrific, kind of like once in a career type of cut. And yeah, it was what it was, man. Sebastian Fundora took advantage. He outworked Tszyu as the fight went on, and he won the fight. But the interesting thing for me is, if they rematched right after that first fight, let's say they let Tszyu's cut heal, and he went straight in with a rematch with Sebastian Fundora, I would have picked Tszyu to beat Fundora in the rematch. However, that's not how things played out. After that loss, Tszyu challenged Bakram Murtazaliev for the IBF Super Welterweight title, and of course in that fight, Tszyu was demolished by Bakram Murtazaliev. He was dropped twice in the second round, badly hurt, dropped once more in the third round to where the referee stopped the fight. And that was a beatdown, that was a mugging by Bakram Murtazaliev. He beat the absolute piss out of Tszyu. Tszyu, I think, went in there trying to prove a point. No defense, he was quite aggressive early on. Bakram met fire with fire, and, you know, Tszyu couldn't recover once he was hurt. And, yeah, Bakram took him out. That was a devastating loss. To me, the loss to Fundora wasn't. It was circumstantial to a degree. But the loss to Bakram was devastating. It was a stoppage. He was stopped early. He was dropped multiple times. And he was beaten up. And the majority of people going into that fight, including myself, felt that Tszyu would have a bit too much for Bakram. That's going to be hard to come back from. He's had one fight since then against Joey Spencer in Australia, but, you know, Joey Spencer to me is not even fringe contender level, quite frankly. I don't think that really proves much, may get a little confidence back, but Joey Spencer's no great shakes. So we don't really know where Tszyu is at now, at this current juncture. In fact, I said that 2025, to me at least, should have been a rehabilitation year for Tszyu. You know, maybe take the Joey Spencer fight, get rid of him, and then maybe fight twice more against like fringe level contenders, and then go again in 2026. But, you know, credit to Tszyu, he's jumping right back in the deep end again against Sebastian Fundora, who, listen, say what you want about him, yeah, he's a freak show, yeah, he looks like a human praying mantis, but his 6'5" frame at super welterweight is a problem. You know, we can question his skills in certain areas, but he does also do things right, and he does things different. For such a tall, lanky guy, He's very good at shortening his punches. He's got nice uppercuts up close. He can work the body. He can work the inside without smothering himself, which I find quite interesting considering his frame. You know, it would be very easy for him to smother himself, but he somehow finds space to fire those short punches up close, and he maintains good output. He's got okay power. Naturally, because of his size, he's quite strong at the weight. And, yeah, he's just a pest to contend with. I don't think he's the greatest boxer for such a long guy. Not the greatest from range. He's got an okay jab. He's got an okay straight right. But I think his wheelhouse is when he's coming onto you and really putting it on you, you know. Because people just find it hard to contend with due to his size. Tszyu in this fight may have to go through a lot of demons because Sebastian Fundora is one of those type of guys who's going to ask those questions about your desire, about your heart, about your chin, whether you want to be there. You know, he pushes the pace, he works hard, he's strong, he's got respectable power, and he throws quite a lot. You know, combine that with the physical advantages as well. It's a daunting fight to come back to for me, for Tszyu. I think it's a daunting fight to come back to, but credit to him for taking it. I think Tszyu, man, he really needs to work that body of Sebastian Fundora. The straight punches to the body in particular, I think. I think Tszyu's best punches in general are his straights. And I think those straights to the body could be key for Tszyu, considering the frame of Sebastian Fundora. I do think Tszyu in this fight should avoid getting involved in a physical altercation up close. I think he should try to pick his moments, pick his spots, get in and out very quickly. I don't think there's a problem with Tszyu in this fight staying all the way out, because Fundora's not great at boxing from range, and he's not great at playing that tit for tat jab game. You know, we've seen Fundora get out jabbed by much smaller, shorter guys with shorter arms. I don't think Fundora playing that game with Tszyu is necessarily negative for Tszyu. In fact, when Fundora tries to box from the outside, particularly when he's not throwing a jab, he does tend to fall in with punches, and Tszyu is a pretty good counter-puncher, a decent counter-puncher with decent timing, decent power. Trying to engage Fundora in that sort of fight may actually be beneficial to land those hard counters, maybe the lead uppercut or the chopping overhand right, for example. But I think Tszyu in this fight needs to be in and out, needs to be picking his spots, fighting with discipline, fighting with composure, and being smart, being switched on. Because again, Tszyu's that type of guy to where if he's caught or you catch him with a combination and the crowd go ooh and ah, he seems to be the type of guy to respond. In this fight, you may have to let a couple of those exchanges go and reset. And I think this fight for Tszyu is going to be down to his mentality, going to be down to his composure. I think we saw in the first fight that he's got the ability to beat Sebastian Fundora. But for me, there are other intangibles surrounding this fight, mainly where Tszyu is at. Also, another thing, Fundora, since that first Tszyu fight, I'm sure he would have grown in confidence, you know. Despite the nature of that win, you know, Fundora still won, and he's successfully defended his title, albeit against a low-level guy. I'm sure his confidence right now is as high as it's ever been. So I do expect the best version of Fundora, but I'm not sure whether we get the best version of Tszyu. And that's where I'm struggling with this fight. Like I said, if this fight happened directly after their first fight, I would have probably picked Tszyu to win. But that's not the case. Time has passed, Tszyu's gone through that background loss, and for me, sometimes, you know, boxing, sometimes I just base it on intuition and gut feeling, and I've got a gut feeling Sebastian Fundora wins. Would I be surprised if there's more hijinks like the last time? Not really. But I just think that Sebastian Fundora might be in a slightly better place. Method of victory, I could see a late stoppage, but I'm going to go with Fundora on points. I'm going to go with Fundora on points in a competitive fight, you know? I think Tszyu has a chance. I think he's got the skills to win this fight. I do. and I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this fight. I'm not trying to be that guy trying to cover every basis, but I just see it as one of those sort of fights. I kind of see it 60-40 to Fundora, and I'm going to go with Fundora on points. What about you guys? Share your thoughts below. Peace.